Workplace trauma and workplace stress is basically any high level trigger or stressor that occurs at work. I mean, every job could be stressful on some level, right? But if it's to the level that it impacts like your functioning, your energy levels, beyond like your typical energy, but more so like your mental health, how you show up outside of work. So like how you show up to your family, how you show up for yourself, any dynamic at work that's like deeply negatively impacting your lifestyle and your sense of self is interesting because a lot of us mask it. I would say obviously for everyone, it can be different. It can range from how you show up outside of work, how you may come home to your family or to your loved ones, the energy that you bring home, even how people show up to work. I used to be a high school teacher. Some of the friends I made in my teaching career, they experienced this and shared with me that they would get up on time, but they would lay in bed and like delay starting their day because their job was so stressful. They would get to work late because they would delay their start so much. And that was due to workplace trauma. That was due to racism that they would experience from like the administrations they were working with. Teaching jobs are stressful, so like challenges with students and things of that nature. So I think to bring it all back, a lot of the indicators that someone is dealing with workplace trauma or workplace stress is if it negatively impacts their life in and outside of work. Microaggressions are more covert and minimized forms of aggression based on, I'm gonna even take it outside the context of race. I would say based on another person's identity or multiple identities. Right. So if we're speaking in the context of race, it could be something as simple as, or not even simple, but something as covert as a manager clocking you for coming in late consistently, whereas a white coworker who may come in late just as consistently or maybe even more is not penalized or spoken to, right? So it's not a blatant form of racism, but these are like, again, covert forms that when you experience a multitude of these aggressions can severely affect your mental health because it contributes to that feeling of isolation or being targeted in the workplace.
Workplace culture constitutes of multiple things. It's the culture that leadership sets, but then it's also the culture that your manager sets.
Manages everything, bro.
There's two different cultures,
because that's a fact.
When you go on the company website, everybody's culture sounds amazing. Everybody's
that's
culture.
A fact.
Oh, we're a growth mindset. We do this, we do that. We want to take care of you. Unlimited time off. Then you get the job, and then you realize unlimited time off really isn't unlimited time off. It's when your manager decides that he's comfortable or she's comfortable with you taking that time off. Growth mindset or like flexibility isn't really flexibility. It's when your manager decides they want to implement that aspect of the culture.
That's a fact.
That leadership is passing down. So really, there's two different types of cultures. There's a culture that you see on a website, and then there's the culture that you experience as a result of the manager that you have.
Most organizations, they present themselves to be like these progressive, supportive, culture-driven, and focused organizations. But you can't get on your website and say, "Hey, we don't really treat our employees the best," right? Like you're trying to you're trying to attract folks to your company and build value in it. But then to the point about microaggressions, I think that's the key too. Is that many microaggressions happen on a subconscious level. Many managers or employees, whoever who are practicing microaggressions, are often not even aware that what they're doing or saying is a microaggression. That's also what makes microaggressions or any form of discrimination insidious as well, is because people are unaware that they're even doing this. What is the preventative measure that you take? It's not that you can't hold people accountable or that behaviors can't be changed, but people have to be willing to do the internal work because we could have a million trainings. You can train them every day. But if they're not invested, if there's no engagement, you're going to get the same results.
And you know what? I think my manager does a good job of trying to say we all are family.
They always
say. Like, this is my family. We spend more time with the work, with our coworkers than we do with our actual family. So this is actually family if you think about it. And he makes a great case for that. And I know he truly believes it. I just don't believe it. My family is my family. You know what I'm saying? My family is the people that I grew up in this house
100%,
with, that I'm building a family with. I would much rather spend that hour with them than my work family.
I feel that.
You get what I'm saying?
That's
and so
real.
for me, that's what computes. It's like, would I rather spend another hour at work with these folks, or would I rather spend an hour with my actual family? You get what I'm saying? And it's
real.
like, bro, you're never gonna win that battle.
Right.
So for me, that's what it comes down to. It just comes down to like, this is literally another work meeting.
Right.
Regardless of if we're talking about work or not,
it
is another work meeting. So I think what helps with that is planning the work event during work,
right?
Not during the lunch break.
Agreed. Yeah.
During actual work,
yeah.
Because then for me that's a break.
It's leisure, yeah.
It's leisure time. Now it's like, okay, you know what? Let me go there. Let me do this thing during work.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna plan it at from 5 to 6, I'm never showing up. If you're gonna plan it from 8 to 9, I'm never showing up. If you're gonna plan it on Friday, anytime on Friday, I'm never showing up. And if you're doing it on the weekend, you don't even send me there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
I've always been known as that dude who's just like, yo, he just comes to work, does his thing, he's out. Like he just say, what's up in the hallway? How you doing? That's it. That's like, we're not talking about nothing out. If the only time we're gonna have a conversation if it's work related. Like if you need something from me, cool, you know where to find me. But other than that, don't tell me about your dog. Don't tell me about your kids. I don't care about. It's cool, and it's nothing personal. It's nothing personal. I'm just my mindset. Like I'm here to work, and I'm out of here, bro. Like we cool, but stay over there. I'm gonna do my thing.
I feel you.
But anything you decide to do, even your passions, are not going to come easy. There's always going to be politics. There's always going to be some type of conflict or some type of disappointment. So you could quit your job today, but the next job you're going to have frustrations. Or if you decide to become an entrepreneur, you're going to have your frustrations, and you have to figure out how to feed yourself because you're not getting a check every 2 weeks, or every week or whatever, right? So like, there's no, not even to say the grass isn't always greener, but I think just if you follow the purpose question, where do I feel purposeful? How would I ideally spend my days? And what would be most meaningful? I think that's a good compass for what to do next. And also, do you feel that in your current position, you've optimized your potential, right? Because sometimes you may leave earlier than you need to, or sometimes you may have an issue that could be resolved if you just shifted your mindset a little bit, or developed maybe a relationship with someone you work with a little bit, and you may have a completely different experience. So do you feel that you've done your best to make that situation one that you fully benefit from? Have you optimized that potential, or is there still work that you can do in that space? And maybe not the work that you do, maybe not the labor, but work, whether it's for yourself or your relationships or mindset. Everything that's suppressed, it doesn't go away. Right. You just tuck it somewhere. So that frustration, like you said, is going to show up whether it's in a conversation with your lady, whether you're going about your day. Could show up in road rage, right? Like there's so many ways that emotions can be transmuted and expressed. Often when we don't express it in the context that they deserve to be expressed in, it gets expressed in a different context in an unhealthy way, because now it's not direct, right? It's kind of like when every time I see someone have road rage, or even when you hear about situations where people like senseless crimes, or people commit acts that just don't really fit the situation. I always think of like, what other situation pushed you to act that way? Like you weren't really mad at that person that cut you off, right? Something probably happened at work. Something probably happened at home. And you may not have expressed yourself or did your best in that situation to make sure that you were comfortable with it. So now it's being expressed in an unhealthy way.
Misdirected anger.
I dealt with seasonal depression, I would say most of my life, bro. Like since I was a kid, and I didn't know what it was until, I would say, once I got in the mental health field, and I was studying and stuff. But before that, bro, I just knew like, yo, when it starts to get cold out, like fall, like once we hit like November, I knew like I'm gonna be moody, like I'm not gonna be in the best shape up until spring. But I would say for folks to navigate seasonal depression, nutrition, that's the first thing I recommend. Just making sure your nutrition is up to par, taking supplements, taking care of your body. Right, like that comes first, because of course going through the winter, the cold is hard on your body. Right, and again, you're not, like to your point, you're not getting enough sunlight. You're physically going through these transitions. You have to keep up with that exercise, getting enough sleep. If you're able to structure your schedule for you to experience the sun, ideally sunrise and sunset. But if you can't catch those moments, just trying to catch sun during the day. So if you're at work, maybe taking a walk, but definitely getting that sun. Try to remember that work is just that. It's just work. Work is not your life. it may take up a significant amount of your day, but it doesn't have to exist beyond that. And your experience is less about the external and more about the internal. Your control over your happiness is greater than what's happening at work. Mm-hmm. And how you choose to cultivate that happiness is entirely up to you. Nobody else can control that. Mm-hmm. So that could mean, you know, developing your personal life more in a way that nurtures you more. So to give an example, my first teaching job filled with workplace trauma, stress, anger, like the whole list of it. I survived those 2 years from the friendships that I had and from the experiences that I had outside of work. Right. So I'm like, I'm loving my life outside of work. Yeah. I hate my 9 to 5, but it's bearable because I know that I exist beyond this place. We're so much larger than we even see ourselves. Right. Whether it's a job, relationship, whatever, it's like your existence is a lot greater than whatever's in front of you. So I think just coming back to that continuously.